Hello students, as we are reading about respiration, we have read about respiration, mechanism and events of respiration, gaseous exchange. So today we will read about epiglottis and cellular respiration. Epiglottis. So many times I said that epiglottis is a flip-like cover, is a valve, or you can say like a sphincter which just closes your trachea, closes the windpipe whenever you eat something or you drink water. What happens here? Suppose this is your trachea, below the trachea is your esophagus. When you eat anything, this part is closed, this trachea part is closed so that the food particle enters in the esophagus and from the esophagus to the stomach regions. Okay, that means epiglottis has a common, here this pharynx has a common passage but different end, has a common passage but a different exit. You can then we will read about respiration here. I said you people earlier that respiration is of two types. One is external respiration. It is also known as gaseous respiration. It includes inspiration and expiration. Inspiration means taking in oxygen, means taking in what? We are taking in oxygen here. Expiration means releasing carbon dioxide. So these are the two parts of the gaseous respiration, inspiration and expiration. The next one is internal respiration. Internal respiration, hence known as cellular respiration. Hence known as cellular respiration. It is again of two types. Aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. So this is a chart in which I explain you about respiration. Respiration is the process in which, in the presence of oxygen, the food particle, the glucose is broken down to give energy. So respiration is of two types. External respiration is also known as gaseous respiration. Internal respiration, it is known as cellular respiration. External respiration always takes place outside the body. It has two types. One is inspiration, and another is expiration. Internal respiration is also having two types, aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Now we will read in detail about aerobic and anaerobic. This is cellular respiration. Cellular respiration means the respiration which takes place in your cells, in which you are getting energy from the food which you have ate, which oxidizes and gives you energy. So we will read about cellular respiration now. cellular respiration is of two types. Aerobic and anaerobic. Aerobic respiration always takes place in the presence of oxygen. Takes place in the presence of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. In absence of oxygen. Now, we know this respiration takes place in our cell. Our body is made up of cells. So, there is an important site where it occurs, mainly in the chloroplast or in the mitochondria. Chloroplast is the part of the cell where all the metabolic activities always takes place. And mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. Where does it occur? In the chloroplast or in mitochondria. Mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. So, in these steps what happens? We go through various steps. The first step is where glucose is broken down. Glucose is broken down for the purpose of releasing energy. In this state, glucose is broken down. What is the formula of glucose? C6H12O6 is broken down to get pyruvic acid. Pyruvic acid. Glucose is here 6 carbon molecule. Here it will be 3 carbon molecule. It will be converted into 3. Here what happens? The process is called glycolysis. Glycolysis is a process in which glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. Here no use of oxygen takes place. No use of oxygen takes place. What is the site? Where does it occur? It occurs in chloroplast. It occurs in chloroplast. So, glucose is the process in which glucose is converted to pyruvic acid is called glycolysis. For the conversion of glucose to pyruvic acid, we don't need oxygen. And where does it occur? It occurs always in chloroplast. So the next step when we will go, here this pyruvic acid will be further broken down to give carbon dioxide. So along with pyruvic acid, energy is also released. Now this pyruvic acid, let me explain here. By the process of Krebs cycle, it will be broken down. Here oxygen is used, and this is the site where it occurs is mitochondria. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. What does it mean? What it will be converted? It will be this. Pyruvic acid will be converted into water molecule, carbon dioxide molecule, water, and ATP plus ATP. This is the end product. Listen carefully. Aerobic respiration means the respiration in which oxygen is present. Here glucose is converted into pyruvic acid by the process of glycolysis. In this reaction there is no use of oxygen, but the site is chloroplast. Then now this pyruvic acid is 3 carbon molecule. Here the glucose is 6 carbon molecule. Now pyruvic acid is broken down in water, carbon dioxide and ATP. ATP, you know, adenosine triphosphate means energy. This process will go through a cycle known as Krebs cycle. Here oxygen is used and the site is mitochondria. Clear? Now anaerobic respiration. In anaerobic respiration also, here is no use of oxygen. Then the first stage is always same. Here also glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. Glucose is converted into pyruvic acid. The process is known as glycolysis. No use of oxygen takes place. No use of oxygen. And the site is chloroplast. Site is chloroplast. Now, here, the next step when we will go through, the pyruvic acid will be broken down further into yeast, lactobacillus and mussels. Please note down in your notebook. This is very important and I am explaining in flow chart so that you can learn it easily. You can learn it easily. It will be converted into yeast. Here alcoholic fermentation takes place. Lactobacillus is a bacteria. And human muscles, or we can say skeletal muscles. Here yeast, this is a simple fungus, you can say. In yeast what happens, that ethanol, here it will be converted into ethanol plus water plus carbon dioxide gas. It is 2 carbon compound. Now bacillus, this both will be converted into lactic acid plus energy. This is the end product. This is the end product. We got 2 steps here. Glycolysis is common in both the steps. Glycolysis is common in both the steps. Clear? Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is the respiration in which the cell releases energy. From where it will release energy? It will release energy from the food, from the bonds of the food which we eat. Cellular respiration is very much compulsory, is very much important part of a human being or a living organism, we can say. So this respiration occurs in 2 types. One in the presence of oxygen, hence known as aerobic respiration. Presence of oxygen known as aerobic, and in the absence of oxygen known as anaerobic. Anaerobic respiration is also known as fermentation. Here what happens? In prokaryotes, this cellular respiration takes place in the chloroplast. This cellular respiration takes place in the chloroplast. Chloroplast is the site of a cell where all the cellular metabolic activities takes place. But in eukaryotes, it takes place in the mitochondria. Mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. Powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria is known as powerhouse of the cell. It releases energy in the form of ATP. ATP, the full form is adenosine triphosphate. We know here that our muscles also releases some energy in the form of acid, that is known as lactic acid, but there also oxygen is required. Here oxygen is required by our cells to our muscles, skeletal muscles, to produce energy and lactic acid. This type of respiration is also known as cellular respiration. Cellular respiration is a respiration in which energy is released by the cell from the bonds of the food which we eat, and it is very much important for our all the metabolic activities in our body. Thank you for today.